Ricky Sawyer?
The man you just saw is Ricky Sawyer. He calls himself Britain's biggest Brazilian butt lift injector.
I've done the most non-surgical BBLs in the whole of the UK.
He injects up to a litre of derma filler into people's bums to make them bigger.
I can't believe that procedure did not hurt.
The pain I was in anyway, I would have preferred to have died at that point rather than carry on with the pain.
It was a Sunday morning. Mobile rang, it was Louise. She said, I'm going to die.
That could potentially lead to cardiac arrest, death.
The vibe that I always get is these are silly women driven through vanity and it's their own fault. And that needs to change.
There are hundreds of practitioners carrying this treatment out in the back of salons, in hotel rooms, and even in office blocks. But there is one name I have heard more than any other.
We've had 39 complaints about Ricky Sawyer.
It was Ricky Sawyer.
It was Ricky Sawyer.
Let me take you back to the beginning. I'm in a hotel room in East London, preparing to go undercover.
No, you can only see your silhouette. You look good.
You think I look like a client?
Yes, absolutely you do.
I've booked into Ricky Sawyer's clinic for a non-surgical Brazilian butt lift, or for short, a liquid BBL. I'm not going to go through with it, but I'm still feeling nervous.
And there's no getting it wrong, because there's no wrong or right. Do you know what I mean? I think sometimes I think it's wrong, and as soon as you think it's wrong, you act differently.
And we're here now. We're
Yeah.
going to do it.
Yeah.
I had to message him early this morning to make sure that it was still going ahead and find out the address. And I think my appointment's going to be here. It's not quite what I was expecting. I think I expected a bit of a shiny, flashy clinic like he advertises on Instagram. But let's go in and see.
Hello. I'm with us. Yourself? Good, thanks. Yeah, I'll give them up.
Dermatologist.
Doors opening.
Maybe through your hand.
Oh, found it. Thank you.
Hello, darling. You okay? We don't have space for your friend. But if you just wait in the waiting area, I will take very good care of you and I will run you through everything.
Ah, it is. We'll take really good care of you. Yeah, I know. Shocking.
The way that he's coming in, like, hello, darling. What he was like with you.
Yeah, exactly. He really sat behind the door, like hiding when I walked in, but yeah, very charming.
This is one of Ricky Sawyer's recent clients, Joanne. She has always lacked confidence with the way she looks and has spent thousands on treatments. It was last summer she came across a post by a company promising the hourglass figure you've always dreamed of. What made it even more attractive, it was being promoted by celebrities like Katie Price.
So I've now finished the bum. Look at that, I can even feel it jiggling. I love it, I might be able to twerk now. I can't believe that procedure did not hurt. And I've got a bum. Didn't have to fly anywhere.
Come behind, guys, so you know this is not edited. Look at the hip dips. There are no longer any hip dips.
I was excited and obviously I didn't think it hurt and I just thought within like an hour now I'm going to have a nice beachy bum.
After paying a £600 deposit, Joanne booked in and set off to Essex.
7 hours to get there and I had a gut feeling as soon as I arrived, just don't, Joe, just go. Everything felt wrong.
When you say everything felt wrong, what was making you feel that?
Because when I turned up there and I couldn't find the place and they gave me a postcode and the postcode led me to this like train station. And then still the directions where they told me to go on the phone were wrong. So once I hung up then they said press buzzer 4. Then it weren't, it was press buzzer 10, so everything they were saying was wrong. I sat downstairs in the, it was like a little dingy hallway for half an hour, really nervous. And there was only a bed in there, a tiny stool and like a worktop. And then I could see behind the door then it was a guy, which I found out that was Ricky Sawyer.
Joanne says within minutes of their meeting, Ricky Sawyer began carrying out a liquid BBL. Here he is on Instagram, injecting large amounts of derma filler. Many qualified surgeons see it as one of the most dangerous and painful cosmetic procedures out there. Joanne's pain was instant.
I felt dizzy, sick, like shaky, like my legs didn't work properly. And that was all within a minute of him starting as well. I was starting to sweat because of the pain.
And then at one point you turned around and saw him injecting you. Can you describe what you saw?
Just a sharps box on the floor, his hands with the big needle, and his gloves were full of blood.
Joanne finally made it home, but the pain was growing with every second.
Pain was so intense, and I was just basically living on painkillers.
What was it looking like at this point?
Terrible. You could see all these lumps and bumps and red, and these lumps then would move.
And at this point, did you get back in touch with the Instagram page?
Yeah, but they just kept on telling me, look, everything you're feeling is normal. And I said, well, you told me it'd be pain-free, I'm in agony. They just said, carry on with your painkillers and your antibiotics, and you'll be fine in a couple of days.
But Joanne wasn't fine. She says within days she was delirious and unable to move. Her friend called the ambulance.
Because at this point I was like dripping with sweat, screaming, like I was in childbirth or something, and I just couldn't stick it anymore.
Joanne was blue lighted to hospital and received emergency treatment for sepsis. She says the doctors thought they would need to cut the filler out to save her life.
I would have preferred to have died at that point rather than carry on with the pain.
Joanne was lucky. She responded well to the treatment and didn't need surgery. But she was left with 2 swollen wounds where Ricky Sawyer's cannula had pierced her skin.
It was like a giant gnat bite, and that just burst. It came out like orange jelly first, and then it just started running down my legs, like brown and orange, murky, like it was like a horrible thing. But it literally ran out of me for 18 hours. But now I've got like 2 indents in my right bum cheek from where it burst. When I told them I was in hospital with sepsis, they blocked me straight away.
Back at Ricky Sawyer's pop-up clinic in London, the injector boasts about the number of procedures he's carried out.
I've done the most non-surgical BBLs in the whole of the UK, so more than any other practitioner. We do 6-7 a day, 6 days a week, in everywhere. Like, you come through our smaller page, but we've got a bigger page. I've done that many, I feel like I potentially could do it without looking.
If he is working at that rate, which is quite a feat, with each BBL costing around £2,000, he has the potential to turn over £250,000 a month. But his success comes at a cost, as one woman has heard far too often. Ashton Collins is a campaigner for better regulation around cosmetic treatments. She has been collecting evidence about Ricky Sawyer's botched procedures for the last few years.
The most complained about practitioner that we've come across is Ricky Sawyer and his various businesses that he operates. So we've had 39 complaints about Ricky Sawyer that are really severe and serious complications. And I think our next biggest one is about 8 or 9. And, you know, that is a company that has multiple practitioners, so it's not just one person. So yeah, you can get a feel for the scale of, you know, the damage that he's causing.
So we have testimony of 39 women here, and they've all come forward to you saying they have had treatment by Ricky Sawyer and ended up in hospital.
Yep.
And if we just look at it, we can see buttocks were painful and swollen. I'm struggling to walk and cannot work. Pus started oozing, shark stabbing pain. And the ambulance had to be called as I couldn't breathe. Needed urgent surgical intervention.
Yeah.
This is really serious.
Yeah, it doesn't get much more serious than that. And I think, you know, what makes it even more shocking is that none of these people thought they were embarking upon something that was as serious as this. They thought these treatments were risk-free beauty treatments, and even when they reach out for help, they are dismissed, their symptoms are dismissed as being normal, and it escalates to the point where once they get to hospital, it's touch and go. It's horrible.
These pictures show one woman's injuries after having a liquid BBL. She ended up in hospital with sepsis. Back in my appointment, the topic of infection comes up.
People that are unlucky with it, usually they're not unlucky and they were actually just not very cooperative with the aftercare. Like, a lot of people are like, oh, I'll be fine. Oh, we've had some people, even other practitioners come in, and I had some lady and she was like, oh, antibiotics. And I was like, yeah, like, you've got to take them, etc. She was like, can I start them tomorrow? So I'm going to go for a drink today. Like, no, if you can't commit to looking after the treatment, then just don't have it yet.
If I get it, take the antibiotics.
The chance of you suffering an infection if you follow the aftercare and take antibiotics is literally like 0.34% statistically. Very small.
Ricky Sawyer seemed adamant there was no real risk as long as I took antibiotics and followed the aftercare instructions. This went against everything I had heard from Joanne and many of the other women I've spoken to. I travelled to Wolverhampton to meet Mr. Dalvi Hamzar, a plastic surgeon who sits on the Joint Council of Cosmetic Practitioners. I wanted to get his take on my appointment.
The biggest risk is infection, and we've worked really hard to prevent with antibiotics and following the aftercare. People that are
antibiotics that prevent the infection, it's a treatment.
And they were actually just cooperative with the aftercare.
In my appointment, Ricky Sawyer gave me a box of antibiotics without a valid prescription. This is illegal.
If during the treatment you haven't reacted poorly to the lidocaine but you are struggling with the discomfort, at your request we can administer a small amount more.
Dalvi tells me increasing the dosage of lidocaine, a local anaesthetic, is a medical decision that Ricky Sawyer is not legally allowed to make.
I gather this is not a medical practitioner, so they can't make independent decisions as to how much lidocaine to give. And to say, oh, at your request we'll give you more, just giving it glibly is not an answer, and not knowing what the safe limit to give you by not having your weight taken so that you can work out how much lidocaine to give you.
Ricky Sawyer also advertised that there would be an ultrasound doctor at my appointment. Dalvi says using an ultrasound machine is vital.
Particularly with a filler, we always use that as a quick scan just to make sure I know what the person's anatomy is for that particular patient, because everyone's anatomy is different. So to avoid any problems, this has been almost a lifesaver for me. This has been the one bit of equipment that you use constantly in the clinic.
With the ultrasound, it's more for like checking any issues and also helping with people's nerves. But actually, the use of it other than that, because as I was saying to your friend, that nobody's ever. So that would be really good at preventing in high risk areas, preventing you from administering into a vessel or an artery. It's never happened.
I'd been in that room for 40-45 minutes, and Ricky Sawyer wanted to inject me with 1,000 millilitres.
1,000 mils in one go is going to put your body tissues at risk under the pressure of that volume. That's going to stretch your tissues.
If I had gone through with it, what could have happened to me?
You would have been in intense pain. We know that infection risk is high, so you could be there. And also with that large volume, let's just say, even if you could get the product in the right place, that pressure would cause that product to move. It moves, it dissects through the tissues, and then could go into an area where it is quite dangerous. That will cause you major problems.
What would be the worst thing that could happen to me?
You could die.
It was a Sunday morning. Mobile rang, it was Louise. So she said, well, I sent you a text to say, I'm in hospital, but it's okay, I'm going to be fine. I said, okay, right, that's good. So she said, but I'm not. She said, I'm going to die.
Janet Taylor's daughter had gone for a liquid BBL. She was excited. But a week later, she needed emergency surgery in hospital.
I went into immediate shock. They were tracking her sepsis and it was travelling down her leg, and it was travelling at such a rate and her blood pressure was dropping, temperature was rising, but they didn't know whether or not they'd had to amputate a leg or take a bum muscle out to stop the sepsis travelling any further. So it would have meant she could have either lost a leg or ended up in a wheelchair for the rest of her life. She said, "It's not worth living, I'd rather die." I said, "Can I speak to the surgeon?" So I said, "How much time have we got?" He said, 5 minutes. After 5 minutes, there's no going back. Louise will die. You could hear all the mechanics in the background and things being done, and she hung up.
Janet drove straight to the hospital. She sat on a cold hospital floor for 4 hours while her daughter fought for her life.
There wasn't one thought going through my head. I didn't touch my phone, didn't speak to anybody. I didn't want to think any further than just being sat on a floor. It was too painful.
What was it like seeing her the first time after the surgery?
I was just so happy that she was alive. Sorry. Yeah, I was just so happy that she was alive and talking.
And then what were the next few days like?
Louise was on morphine, gas and air, and she was shaking with the pain because they had to keep packing this wound so the flesh grows upwards. But the pain she was on, she was shaking, and she asked me to be there all the time outside, and I had to hold her down when they had to do anything to her, so putting any cannulas in, any drips in. She had most of them in her neck, so I had to hold her down and keep her still while they did all that to her. On one occasion when Louise was in critical care, she was screaming and she just said, "Mum, please don't let this happen to anyone else."
It's been 15 months since Louise was taken into hospital. Although she survived, Janet says her daughter has lost her spark for life. Louise is waiting for corrective surgery and feels too insecure to appear on camera, but wanted her mum to speak to us on her behalf. Janet is determined to get justice for Louise and is trying to get the police to investigate. I decided to go along with her on a journey she's made many times before to the local police station.
Been into Bolton 5 times in total. First time I went in, it was difficult to explain the procedure that Louise had had because it wasn't well known. The person working on reception asked if Louise had signed a consent form, of which I answered yes. So we actually said it was her own fault. On my 3rd visit, I still hadn't had any contact, so I decided to go to the police station again. I was determined not to leave on this occasion until I spoke to a sergeant. I went into reception, the same gentleman was on reception, and he told me that the sergeant was too busy to come and see me. So I said that I would wait and I wouldn't leave the interview room until the sergeant came down. The gentleman then called 2 police officers and had me removed from the station. I was very confused that I was reporting a crime that I think is extremely serious, and I was being escorted out of the premises by 2 officers for wanting to speak to a sergeant.
Not everyone has a Janet that's able to fight their corner. So many of the women I've spoken to feel unable to go to the police. They feel ashamed, they feel scared, they just don't feel able to report it. They're left trying to rebuilding their lives, but unable to get any form of justice.
Janet isn't the only one who is trying to take action against Ricky Sawyer. 3 councils have put out prohibition notices banning him from carrying out liquid BBLs. Glasgow City Council, Epping Forest District Council and Brentwood Council say they've done so to protect the public from serious injury. It's the only tool they have to try and bring an unregulated industry under control.
Aesthetics clinics can pop up anywhere, and they could close down in one area of the city and open up in another, and we wouldn't know about it. It's very difficult to deal with it. It's very difficult to gather the intelligence correctly to know where these practitioners are happening and our hands are tied. I would say it's very urgent to come up with a solution to the problem that is non-surgical cosmetics. There needs to be a standard put across the board so that everybody knows what should be done.
The pressure on the government to act is growing. Last year, a mother of 5, Alice Webb, died after having a liquid BBL by a different practitioner. a petition launched in her name has received over 20,000 signatures. It's calling for liquid BBLs to be banned unless they're carried out by a qualified plastic surgeon in a safe clinical environment. We put our evidence to the Department of Health and Social Care, which said they are urgently looking for options for tougher regulation. They said our findings were shocking and that those caught dispensing medication without a licence should feel the full force of the law. This is exactly what Janet has tried to make happen in Bolton Police Station.
Hiya.
Hi.
So how did it go?
I thought it went really well.
Yeah.
I'm surprised. I've been told that Bolton have definitely sent it to Essex.
So once Essex do take it on, or if they do take it on, then you could be looking at a criminal case.
Yes, definitely.
It sounds like you have hope.
I do have hope. I feel during all this time I've been in limbo land and I just want it to end. And this will give me and Louise closure on the whole situation, that justice will be done.
Janet has made some progress, but what happens next is far from certain. A week later, I approached Essex and Greater Manchester police forces to get an update. Both said they have looked at the case and it's down to the other to investigate. It appears Janet is back in limbo. I've come to see Joanne in her hometown of Port Talbot in South Wales. She is still processing what happened to her 6 months ago. When I met Joanne, the first thing she said was that she lacked confidence, and this is why she chose to get a liquid BBL. Her priority now is to make sure her daughter never feels the same way.
How do you feel about the fact that Ricky is still in business?
It's shocking. He should be locked up. Yeah, I can't believe he's still doing all these treatments and nearly killing people.
And Maya, I don't know how much you know about what your mum's been through, but would you ever get any of these treatments?
No, never.
Why not?
I think everyone should just stay the way they are.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I love their way of thinking. I wish I had more common sense.
Joanne is determined to protect her young daughter. But for Janet, it's too late for that. Her priority is stopping the man who she says almost killed her daughter. But so far, without success.
It just makes me feel sick. I'm more determined now. More determined than ever to stop him.
If Ricky Sawyer was here now, what would you say to him?
I would ask Ricky Sawyer if he was comfortable with me injecting him. Not having any medical training, not having a clean, safe environment in my front room, injecting him with the same products that he's injected Louise with.
I'm back at Ricky Sawyer's pop-up clinic in East London, but I'm not undercover. I want to hear what he has to say.
Hello, Ricky Sawyer. Oh. My name is Shona Elliott. I'm a journalist at the BBC. Ricky Sawyer, can I please ask, are you breaking the law?
Could you please leave?
You gave me medication without prescription. Are you putting your clients in danger? Ricky Sawyer, please ask. Are you putting your clients in danger? 4 women have told us they have nearly died after treatment by you. Why are you still carrying out these BBLs? Get me out. Do you have anything else to say? Do you have anything to say to the women? Okay, out.
It's been 2 weeks since I last saw Ricky Sawyer. He's not responded and he's blocked me on social media. But by the looks of things, he's still in business. He's put up dozens of posts on social media advertising his liquid BBL treatment. And it's £300 off this week.